I'm trying to give the computer time to catch up. I noticed that my videos were lagging behind, and some of my first instructions were being left out, and they're very important. So bear with me, if you can even hear me. Okay, I think it should have caught up by now. Okay, I'm going to show you today how to edit this baby into this digital backdrop. Last time I showed you how to place baby in a digital backdrop when you did not shoot with intention, when you didn't shoot baby with the digital backdrop in mind. This time I did shoot baby with the digital backdrop in mind. So it's going to be a little different and a little easier. I'm also going to show you how to change the color of the wrap and a few other things in this tutorial. I'm going to show you how to fix some of these shadows that wouldn't be present in the digital, and lighten it up top, and a few things like that. So let's get started. I want you to click on your digital backdrop, and then using your move tool, I want you to pull down your baby layer. And again, using your move tool, I want you to drag baby onto your digital backdrop. Okay, now I want you to go over, and you should be on layer 1, which is the baby layer. And I want you to take your opacity down to about 50%. Now, hold down shift. It's very important that you hold down shift or your baby will be distorted. I want you to click on the corner, the little box on the corner, while holding down shift, and size baby down. And then I want you to put baby in the bowl. Now you want baby to be large. I know it's hard to decide what size baby should be in digital backdrops. In this particular backdrop, you want baby to be pretty large because this backdrop is really busy. It's got a lot going on. And if baby is too tiny, the backdrop is going to dwarf her. It's going to take all the attention away from baby. So baby's going to be like not even noticeable. Okay, I want you to center baby in the bowl just like you would if you were actually shooting baby in the bowl. Now I want you to slide back over to your first layer, which you should still be on, and raise your opacity back up to 100. Now I want you to add a layer mask. To add a layer mask, you're going to click on this little button down here. Well, first you have to hit enter. I should have said hit enter to confirm the transformation, or it won't let you add a layer mask. Now I want you to go ahead and add your layer mask. To add a layer mask, you click on this little icon in the bottom right hand corner that looks like a camera. It's a little rectangle with a circle inside. Click on that, and now you should see that layer 1 has a layer mask. Now I want you to hop on over and grab your paint bucket tool. And I want black selected. Now dump the black onto the baby layer. Just cover it in the black. Dump your paint bucket on it. The baby should completely disappear. You shouldn't be able to see anything. Now I want you to grab a brush. We're going to use a soft round brush. Now I want you to select a white brush. And you can make it rather large. And now I want you to draw baby back in. And we might have to adjust baby size again. I might have made her a little too big or a little too small. That's okay. But as you drag that brush around, you should see baby pop up. And I also should mention that my brush is set at 100% flow and 50% opacity, and it's set on normal mode. Because I want baby to pop up slowly. I don't want her to just wham, bam, all of a sudden be there. I want to draw her in. So just keep painting over baby, making sure to get all her edges, because you want those original shadows. Make sure you're getting like the entire wrap, all of baby's head and all of baby's face. And once you're confident that you have baby selected, now you have one of two choices. Since you've retained your original shadows and the material that you shot with is very similar, you can either leave their felt that is in the picture, or you can bring your own felt in. In my case, it's not felt. It's just a big white blanket that looks like a flocati, which works perfect for a number of digitals that I have, so go get you one. I'm going to, for this tutorial's sake, I'm going to bring in the flocati. If I wasn't doing this tutorial, I might just leave their fluff since it matches so well. And just to make it simpler on myself, I might just bring in the shadows really well and leave their fluff. Because their fluff looks really nice and it blends really well. If your fluff doesn't blend really well, you're going to want to bring in all your own fluff. Now, before we do anything farther, I want you to remember what I said about my baby being lit from the wrong direction. Now, the way we're going to fix that is we're going to go to, with layer 1 selected, we're going to go to Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal. And that just flipped my baby. So now, the light on my baby is coming from the right side. So I'm going to have to scoot baby back over a little bit, because when I flipped her, she ended up more on the left-hand side. Now the light is coming from the left and my baby is lit from the left. So it's proper. Now I'm going to show you how to bring in that fluff. So grab your brush tool again. And with your soft white brush, I want you to make sure you click back on your layer mask. Not on the layer, on the black part, the layer mask. Now I want you to paint over their fluff. Just take your brush at a low opacity. You can even go lower than I went. You can run it at 30% opacity if you want it to pop up really slow. You're just blending. You're blending your fluff in with their fluff, so that it matches really well. I'm not going to try to get mine right up on the edges. I'm going to go kind of close, but not too close. Because as you can see, I went too far on the top and ended up covering the bowl with my fluff. So this backdrop is so bright that it's actually hard to see. And my fluff is lit so bright to match it that it's actually hard to see where the fluff is on the left-hand side. But just go ahead and paint it on. Making sure you're bringing in all those little pieces. Making sure you're grabbing all those shadows, because the shadows really are what make or break it. Now, I'm pretty confident that I've brought in most of my own fluff, which to me just makes it look even more natural, because baby was shot on that fluff. Now I'm going to size my brush down, and I'm going to switch to my black brush, and I'm going to paint around the edges to remove some of that fluff where I painted onto the edges. Now, she has some fluff already on the edges from her digital, And that's okay. When you paint over, it's not going to get rid of those. So just paint over the edge, because I want to be able to see the edge of the bowl. I don't want it to be covered completely in fluff. So just carefully, and be more careful than I'm being. For the sake of these tutorials, I try to move kind of fast. So I'm not really precise. I'm just going through the motions. Be more precise than I'm being. Take your time. If this was for a client, I would be really taking my time. But I've already finished it and delivered it, and the mom was in love with it. So I'm not worried about redoing it for delivery. I brought in quite a bit of fluff over here onto the edge, so I'm just making sure that I'm painting all of that off. And I know it's hard to see, guys. It is so bright. This is a very bright backdrop, which kind of works well with my shots. I edit a little moodier, but I shoot pretty bright. Now, I did have a lighting issue here. Where the blanket was folded, my light didn't cover enough of the back. So we have some harsh shadows that we're going to need to get rid of over here on the left-hand side. Because with how bright this backdrop is, we would not have those shadows on the left-hand side. Not nearly as deep as they are. Now, I'm pretty much confident that I have painted off all of the fluff from the edges. The majority of it, anyway. And once again, now you can see the edge of the bowl, because I want that to be visible. Look how natural that already looks. Way more natural than the one that we did that wasn't shot for. The one that wasn't shot in the fluff beforehand. It's already looks very realistic, and we have done very little to it. And if sometimes you need to zoom out to really get a good perception of how it's looking, and it looks really nice. So we're going to zoom back in here. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I don't like these shadows over here. So what you can use is actually the the dodge tool, which is on the left-hand side over here in your toolbar. It should look like a magnifying glass. Now the dodge tool is going to lighten that up. I'm actually going to use one of my actions for painting on light. But if you use the dodge tool, it will do the same thing. So just go ahead and use the dodge tool. I just like the paint on light brush, so I'm going to run that really quick. Okay, now I'm going to size my brush up a little bit, and I'm just going to paint on light over here where these harsh shadows are. Again, my brush is set at 50% opacity. If you were using the dodge tool, you would want yours set at about 20%. If you were using the dodge tool, you would want your exposure at about 20%. And that would work really nicely. I'm going to hop back on over and use my paint on light brush again. Now, just already that's gotten rid of the majority of those harsh shadows. You can see before that dark shadow and after that shadow is gone. I also feel like up here at the top of her head, like there wouldn't be that harsh of a shadow at the top of her head. So I'm going to size down my brush and paint around the top of her head, being careful not to go onto her head, because her head's bright enough. We don't need to make her head any brighter. She's already pretty bright. Now, the shadows on the right-hand side, I'm going to leave because baby is blocking the right-hand side, obviously, so there would definitely be some shadowing. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that. The next thing that I want you to do, I'm very happy with the way it's looking so far and what I've done so far. So I'm actually going to come down and flatten my image. If you're not happy with how your fluff looks and the edges of the bowl and your shadows and all that, don't flatten your image yet. Just keep working at that until you get it how you would like it. Now I'm actually going to add a hue saturation layer. And the point of this is I'm going to change the color of this wrap using a few different techniques. Now, first of all, I want to take the saturation down. That already helped. You can click off and on, and you can see that that already made it match a lot better. Now I'm just going to mess with the sliders. It's going to change the whole picture, but I'm going to decide what I like better. And I think I'm going to add it a little more to the blue side than I am the green side. And I'm going to take the lightness down on the wrap just a tad. I mean, just barely at all. Actually, I'm going to take it up. Yeah, it looks better if I take it up. And I'm at like +9. So I'm just barely bumping that up. Now, oh, if my computer, there it goes. I'm going to get on I'm going to click where it says master and click the drop down layer. And I'm going to click on magentas. And I'm going to mess with that magenta a little bit. Now I'm finding that if I slide the top slider more to the green side, it's lightening that wrap a little bit. Again, I'm going to move the lightness down just a little bit and the saturation down just a tad. Just a little bit. I'm at -16. Now I'm going to hop onto the reds. And I'm going to bump that slider up a little bit towards the blue side. Just a little bit. I'm at +7. And again, I'm going to take the saturation down a little bit. And the lightness, I'm going to move up a little bit, I think. I've got +8 on the lightness. And you can already see the difference in that wrap. It's already very different. So what I want you to do once you're happy with the color of the wrap is once again grab your paint bucket tool and black and dump it on that layer, and it should disappear. All the changes that you've made should go away and it should return to its normal colors. Now I want you to grab your paintbrush, switch back to a white brush, and we're using a soft white brush. And I want you to paint those changes onto the wrap. Not onto baby's face, not onto the fluff, strictly on the wrap. And it should alter that color. Make sure you're getting the entire wrap or it's going to look awkward having patches of dark pink and light pink. Now I think I've got the whole wrap selected, so I'm going to turn that layer off and let you see. See how much darker pink that is and how it just doesn't match the background very well? And now it's a pretty light pink that just really matches the wrap better. Let me try a color balance layer. And I'm going to move on the midtones. I'm going to move the top one. I'm going to bump it down a little to cyan. And I'm going to pop the other one up just a tiny bit onto the green side. And then the yellow, I'm going to bump down just a little bit, just barely at all. And again, I'm going to grab my paint bucket tool in black, and I'm going to fill in that layer with black. And again, your changes should disappear. So grab your white soft brush and paint that change onto the wrap. Again, covering the entire wrap, making sure not to miss any of it. Careful not to get any on baby, or baby's going to look really awkward and really distorted. Okay, let's turn that off and on, and it's a subtle change, but it's a significant change as well. It's both. So as far as that goes, let's do a brightness and contrast layer, and I'm going to take it down to about 0.12, minus 12, and I'm going to take the contrast down to about -10, because I feel like the baby has less contrast in her, has more contrast in her than the backdrop. So again, I'm going to grab my black paint bucket, and I'm going to dump that onto the backdrop. And this time, when I grab my soft white brush, I am going to paint it on baby's face. Just on baby. And that should lower the contrast a little bit and make her face just a tad darker, because she's pretty stinking bright. Be very tedious about this and make sure that you're getting the whole baby without spilling over onto the fluff. Now let's make sure that worked. Turning it off. There, that looks a lot better to me. Okay, we've done all these layers. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now, one thing that I noticed is that the right side of my wrap became kind of black. It's not, I don't like that. So again, grab your dodge tool, the magnifying glass on the left hand side. Change your opacity, your exposure down to about 10%. And paint over the right hand side of that wrap. You only want to do it a little bit, because there would be natural shadow, but not quite as dark as what it's showing. So you want to lighten that up just a hair, not very much at all. I'm going to use the paint on light tool at about 20% opacity. And I'm just going to paint some lightness onto that wrap, leaving a little bit of shadow, but making it match the other side better, because altering the colors made it a little too black for my taste. Okay, I'm happy with all those changes, so I'm going to flatten the image, and check it out. Look how realistic that looks. I mean, it really looks like baby was shot in that bowl. The lighting matches quite well. I'm a fan. I think it looks really nice. You can judge for yourself. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you don't think it looks realistic, let me know. If this tutorial helped you, let me know. Just remember, when you're shooting for composites, especially these bowl composites that are shot from above particularly, make sure you shoot with intention. Even if you have some fluff and it's not the same color as the fluff in the bowl, shoot baby in that fluff, and you can actually change the color of that fluff the same way that we just did, using a hue saturation layer, brightness and contrast, a color balance layer. You could even use a selective color layer to change the color of that fluff, and just paint it just paint it directly onto the fluff, and that is going to change the color of the fluff. So try to pick a color that is easy to change the colors of, and shoot with intention. Make sure that you pick your digital ahead of time, and then make a plan for how you can make that digital look realistic. So I hope that you guys found this helpful. Again, let me know in the comments what you think, and if there's anything I'm missing, any tips or tricks that I'm missing and I'm not telling you guys, leave me a comment and let me know if there's something that helps you that I'm not letting you know. So I flattened my image and I am finished. So thanks for watching, guys, and happy compositing.